Look at all these carrots coming through here, Mrs. W.
Yeah, they've come through lovely, haven't they?
Oh, yes.
Quite good spacing as well, by the looks of it.
That they are. And we sowed these, what, 3 weeks ago, was it? Now, we've been away on our holidays. And really good, wasn't it? It was actually my mother's 80th birthday. And there are 14 of us in our immediate family now with the grandchildren. So we had a huge cottage up in a place called Frosterley, which is about 12 miles from Durham. It was amazing, wasn't it?
It was really lovely.
Lovely countryside.
Yeah, beautiful.
Hadn't quite
Never been there before.
No, we've always missed that bit out, haven't we? We've been Scotland, Yorkshire. That chunk is there, and what we need to do now is to get over to the Lake District, don't we?
Yeah, that's on my to-do list.
Now, in today's video, we have a lot of planting out to do. And if you've been sowing along with us, you will too. Those of you that are growing along with us with your calabrese, hopefully yours are starting to look like this. Now, I said when we sowed these that these would be for a June harvest. It is indeed June now, and you can see it will not be very long before we have a nice big head of calabrese. You can see that the whole row has done really quite well. I don't quite know what's happened here, but we did lose a cauliflower.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've noticed that.
No, I pulled the remains out this morning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When we got back, but you know, those are the breaks. You can see these cabbages are starting to turn in very nicely now. This is a variety called Providence. But what I do want to do is to rid these of some of these leaves. Under here I can see some of these are actually starting to be eaten. That's a wonderful platform to allow the slugs up to actually eat them. You can see the leaves are starting to deteriorate. And we've got some lovely nice new leaves around here. And I want the room for these plants to be able to grow.
This is our July row, is it?
Yeah, this is our July row. And actually I hadn't seen because we were just looking at that calabrese, but we've lost a plant there, look.
Oh, what, a calabrese?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's...
We lost a calabrese there.
One there.
I would think that's probably slugs that have had a go at that, and that's probably because they've got a nice shelter with these leaves. And because we've been away, I haven't exactly been on top of them in that respect. You can see they're already having a go at the bottom leaves. So we'll just remove those, and also anything that is yellowing.
Oh yeah.
So do have those out. They're not doing the plant any good whatsoever. And you can see there are lots of lovely leaves all on here that are helping this to photosynthesize and produce its crop. Look down here, Mrs. W. Okay. We actually have, it's thrown off a shoot. This is the main head here. And look, we've got another one that's come up from the bottom.
Little bonus crop.
And a little bonus crop, as you say.
Lovely.
So we've seen just how well those calabrese have come on. And in that row, as I said, we have our greens for June and July. But in these two rows, these will be for August and September. And hopefully you're sort of understanding by sowing these, as we've been doing on the Sow With Us videos, you'll have a nice continuity of crops. Had those rows all been calabrese broccoli, by mid-June they'll all be gone. You'd have to harvest them because once they go over, they'll go to flower. So it's better to have some each month. And in that way, you've got something to eat all the way through the month. Now, for the month of August, we're going to mirror the sowings that are in there. So what I do need is 2 calabrese. Look at those, Mrs. W. They look very good.
Yeah, they're ready to come out, aren't they?
Yes.
Did we sow those in April? I believe.
No, we sowed at the beginning of May. It's one thing you do notice at this time of the year when you make your sowings in like May, by the end of May, 4 weeks later, they are ready to go. The warmth is here, the light is here, so they get away really quickly. Let's pop you in there. Next to those, I want some more cabbage. It's a weed, Mrs. W.
Oh, get him out.
Certainly don't want that, do we? And then next I'm going to plant some cauliflower in that row. And this is going to be a variety called Boris. With our brassicas for September, we're actually going to miss out on the calabrese. We're going to have 3 cabbages and we're going to have 3 romanesco. So not cauliflower this time, we want to have the romanesco. Now it's really quite warm here in Norfolk at the moment. The sun is shining. We're set to have fair weather for some days to come. And at this time of the year, although as normal I put some water in the bottom of these holes, I'm also going to give them a bit of watering from the surface as well to sink down, just to help them into their new homes. Now in the 2 rows next to me, on this side, remember I sowed some cabbages called codessa. I'm going to put a full row of those in there. And the reason I put a full row of those in there is because cabbages hold very well. These won't harvest until November, December time. By then they should have nice big heads and they hold for quite a few weeks in the ground. It's a Savoy type. And then next door we've got a whole row of calabrese broccoli marathon. The reason for that is because we shall leave these ones in the ground after we take the central head, and they'll produce nice little side shoots which will give us a bonus harvest through November and December. For about 6 weeks after you harvest that main head, they will send out little shoots that you can enjoy, just like your sprouting broccoli. Whereas the ones that we planted over there and the ones that are in this row here, we shall take the heads and then those plants will come out.
You could technically leave those in at this time of year and they'd still do the same as this row, wouldn't they? They'd still
Yes.
throw up their little side shoots. It's just we like to use the ground a bit differently, don't we?
We want to get other crops in their place.
Yes.
So that's why we don't leave the ones we're eating during June, July and August in the ground. Once they're harvested, we want to get something else in there. The other thing that we've done is to put another row of carrots beside these Norwich. The Norwich we sowed at the end of March. And you can see they're coming along nicely now. It's not going to be too long before we get a harvest from those. Carrots only 12 weeks, so sometime toward the end of June, we'll be able to harvest those. Luckily, we still have lots of lovely carrots that are in the polytunnel that we're enjoying. And this time I've sown some Chantenay Red. The little stumpy carrots. I do quite like those. And they freeze particularly well, don't they, Mrs. W?
Yeah, like those.
And they're always handy to have in the freezer while we eat the others nice and fresh. One thing I did want to show you while we were out, I just had a little scratch around the elephant garlic. Look at the size of that, Mrs. W.
Oh, that's looking really good, isn't it? Oh, definitely elephant size.
Yeah. Can feel the cloves in there.
Yeah.
And they come to harvest this month.
It's towards the end of this month, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, towards the end of this month. And then that'll free up some space to put some more plants in there that we'll be able to enjoy either next winter or this coming autumn. Burpee's golden beetroot.
That's our first ever one that we've grown.
And I'm looking forward to trying that. We're going to harvest one or two of those and we shall be roasting them. You can see now that the beetroot's starting to come ready. When you multi-sow it, this one is ready to eat. You could eat any of them if you wanted to, but this is the sort of size we normally like them to get to. This one won't be far behind it, and as I take this, the rest will then swell even more. And it's happening to all of the beetroot. There's always one that's doing really well, and as we take that harvest, the others come along. So when we did our May sow along, if you remember, we sowed some more beetroot. This is some more golden burpees, and they're now ready to go in the ground, and they're going to go from behind where Mrs. W is filming, and they'll follow on from those for a nice late summer harvest. And a bit later on this month we shall sow some more beetroot, which will be for a winter harvest. And then, as always with us, we always have to net our brassicas because the pigeons do like them. But at this time of the year it does mean that the white cabbage butterfly will be about, the cabbage white. We haven't really seen too much of it at the moment, have we? It seems to get
just
later,
one or
only
two,
one.
but, yeah.
It seems to get later and later. But the downside of that is that we still have them much later in the year. We still see them flying about sort of late October, don't we?
Yeah.
Because it's generally still quite mild. So insect netting is the best thing to use. Not butterfly netting, they can get through that. Fleece would be too hot. This is what you want to be using. And I've left a link in the description of where we got the piping, the stakes and the netting from, so that you can see exactly what it is. You don't have to buy it from there, but it will give you an idea of the sort of things that you are looking for. I need to plant some spring onions, Mrs. W.
You do.
Thank you all of you who messaged me. I got one or two emails and also via the comments on there, just asking if we were all right. Yes, we are. We just have been away. Now, we did pre-film a video that went out Friday, I believe, which was our top tips for June. One of the things that we did say in that video was that by regular watering of your tomatoes, that would help with blossom end rot. And I actually said it was because of iron. And thanks, Belinda, because you pointed that slip by me out. It is actually calcium. So apologies for that. Somebody asked me in the comments about thinning the onions. They were trying to do what we did back in May, which was to thin them down from sort of 6 or 8, however many you have, down to 4 or 5. And they were having problems that the onion was snapping when they were pulling it out. Now, I can't really demonstrate it now because I've already done it to all of our onions, but I do have these spring onions here, which is effectively the stage that you do it at with your onions. These are a little bigger. What I always find best is, if you want to take one out of the clump, is to keep hold of the ones that you want to keep and then gradually twist out the onion that you want. Because in that way you won't pull the rest out, which I believe is the problem you are having. That's almost an onion, Mrs. W.
It is. They were the overwintered spring onions, weren't they?
Now, if you remember, I said that we were going to try growing carrots in the bed, and then to save on space in our outdoor beds, all the way around the outside, was to grow spring onions. And that's why I left these in here for now, so that I could see exactly where they're going to go. Now, when I multi-sow mine, I tend to try and leave about 6 inches between each clump. It's not absolutely necessary, but as a rough guide, that's fine, because actually as you do harvest the bigger ones and leave the other ones behind, they'll just get more space anyway. And then we shall get these popped into the hole. And they go. Now, once I've finished planting these into their position, this tray will be once again used to sow the next spring onions. These onions are probably 6 to 8 weeks until they'll be of an edible size. We've got those to finish, and we've also got some in the polytunnel, haven't we?
Yeah.
Which will keep us going until these ones that I'm now planting are ready. Should give these a watering in. You know, this time of the year it's really important to ensure that your young seedlings do have enough water. You don't want to be overwatered, but you know, don't let them dry out and go dry. And with everything that Mrs. W and I have planted today, we shall go out and check it every few days, and if it's got really dry and the weather continues like this, then they shall get a watering once a week, just until they've established and we can see that they have their leaves growing. June is that wonderful time of year when we can start to harvest things. And we'll take a look at that in our next video. We have much coming ready to harvest. I want some carrots for this evening, Mrs. W.
Yes.
We've already done a row of broad beans, so I think we'll have a few more broad beans tonight.
Definitely some strawberries from the polytunnel.
Strawberries for after, yes, quite right too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. We're back here now for the foreseeable. I don't think we actually go away again until September now, do we?
No.
So, keep an eye out for the videos as they pop up. We have some succession sowings to do in the month of June. We'll have more plantings to do. And that calabrese is going to be really lovely when we harvest it. As ever, do let us know in the comments how your garden is. Hopefully, I'll hear lots of responses from you that your calabrese broccoli has got small heads like ours, and that you'll be enjoying yours in the next 2 to 3 weeks, just like us. Have a great gardening week, won't you all? And we shall see you on the next one.